everybody, Ray here. You know, one of my hobbies, as you can see, is playing guitar. I don't play very well, but I enjoy playing guitars and I like a nice looking guitar. So I tend to like to keep them out here on display. So I'm always trying to find ways, where can I put these things? One of the things I did is I came up with a creative way to use a wine stave, and I made something to hang these two guitars. If you're interested in how I did that, I'll put that video link up above. But there's a better way to do this, a lighted guitar display case that will really show off how nice these guitars are. If you think you'd be interested in that, stick around. I'm going to show you how to make them. In fact, I'm going to show you how to make 4 of them. And don't forget, if you like this video, hit that like button for me and subscribe. So let's start by going over some measurements and what you'll need to make this display case for your guitar. First of all, the measurements of I'll call it the box itself, the basic box, is 22 inches wide by 47 inches long. And then going across the top will be a top and bottom cleat that you'll have to account for. So in order to build this, you'll need 2 1x6 by 8 foot boards. For this, I just used common lumber because you're not going to see the sides of my display case anyway. So I just used common lumber because select lumber has gotten to be crazy expensive. You'll also need 2 1x2 by 8. Now these will be select boards. Because these are going to be the face frames and you need that to look a little bit nicer. If you choose to put a back on your unit, I would just use 1/4 inch Luan paneling, 24 by 48. That is pretty inexpensive. And then down at the bottom, you'll need what I'm going to refer to as a spacer cleat, and you'll see what I mean as you watch the video. But that spacer cleat can be anything that you buy or any scrap that you've got laying around, as long as it's 23.5 inches wide. So basically, that's what you'll need to make the box. If you choose to line it with cloth or paint it, of course, you'll need whatever materials you want to do that. So the last piece that you really have to have is some sort of a U-shape bolt, I call it, to hang your guitar in. I got these at Home Depot in the garage section. They're coated so they won't harm your guitar, and they were only about $3 each. The next couple of things are really optional. You can see that what I did is I came in and I put cove molding inside here, which I thought would help make things stand out a little bit more. You may or may want to do that. If you do, it's not that expensive to get the cove molding and put it in there. I also lined mine with velvet, which I just think looks really nice and adds a nice texture to the back. But I also just experimented with it, painted black, and it looked just fine. Then the other thing you might want to do is, this is how the display case looks just hanging without the lights on. I decided to put LED lights in there. And I think the LED lights just sort of make things stand out a little bit more and just kind of add a little bit of a sparkle and a shimmer to the guitars. If you choose to do that, I bought a set of lights, 60 feet of lights, and it was around $60 off of Amazon. And depending on whether you make 1, 2, or 3 boxes, you can get whatever size lights that you need. So we've cut all our boards out to the correct size. I've gone ahead and glued and pin nailed 2 of the sides, and now I'm going to proceed with doing this side. So we're just going to run some glue down the edge of this board. And we'll clamp this together and we'll pin nail it. Once we're glued up, we'll just pin nail it. This French cleat concept to hang things on the wall is something that I use fairly frequently, and it's really simple. So I've taken this one piece of 1x4 and I've cut it with a 45-degree angle. And I lay that down so the 45-degree angle is facing toward the unit that I want to hang. The hanging piece is cut with a 45-degree angle. And it would be this way on this unit when I hang it. But what will happen is this part of this will actually be against the wall. So if you think about it this way, this is my wall on this side. I'm going to take my unit and I'm going to just slide it down until those two 45-degree angles meet. And that will hang very securely. Now, you've extended the back of the top of this case out 3/4 of an inch by adding this French cleat. In order for this to sit squarely against the wall, you'll have to add another 3/4 inch piece down toward the bottom. That will allow it to sit nice and straight against the wall. Now the next thing we want to do is to start to trim this out so it looks more cabinet-like. We're going to do that with a 1x2. There's a couple of reasons why I want to use a 1x2. One is it just makes a nice looking facing material. And these we will be cutting at a nice 45 so they fit together like a really nice looking frame. The second thing is that I'm going to run lights around the outside of this display case. So when I turn them on, it'll really put a nice glow on that guitar. And I want those lights behind this piece of trim board. So that 1x2 will give me plenty of room to tape those lights down there. I've cut out my 1x2 facing boards for my display cabinet here, and essentially they're just the same width as the cabinet and the same length as the cabinet. So it'll fit on here all the way around to face out this display case. So here's the display case with the facing added on the front. And it really does make some difference. I'll show you a before and after picture. But one of the reasons why I wanted the facing on there is because I'm going to need a lip in behind here, because this is where my LED light strips will be. So you won't be able to see them from the outside, but you'll be able to see them glowing inward this way. So we've figured out where we want our top cleat to be, because I know how high I want the top of my display cases to be, and I want my guitar hanger to go in about 3 inches from the bottom of this cleat. So you can kind of figure out all those dimensions for yourself depending on where you want yours, and you'll decide where you want your French cleat to be. You want to make sure, for one thing, that you put it up there and throw a level on that thing and make sure you get it nice and level when you put it up. Then you also want to make sure that this is securely attached to the studs. We'll do that with a stud finder. And there you go. We have found the stud, which is right here. Now I've selected a drill bit that will allow me to make the hole big enough that the screw can go right through it, and I'm not going to drill much past this board right here because I want it to connect, attaching to that 2x4 behind here. So we're just going to do the pilot hole right up in the front here. Okay, so you can see that the screws themselves, well, they're tight, but they'll fit through that hole. And at this point then, I can screw them right into the 2x4 behind the wall here. And you can see I'm not too worried about what this looks like. All of my guitar cases will be together covering this up. So I'm going to proceed to get 2 screws where every stud is behind the wall. So to recap the way the French cleat works, you've got a cleat up against the wall here that's got a 45-degree angle going down that way. This board has a 45-degree angle going this way, so it should slip right in behind there, just like that, and it fits in there very snugly and very securely. The French cleats are great. Okay, let's stop for a second and recap where we are and what we've done so far. We've made 4 boxes for our display cases. I have stained all 4 boxes this charcoal gray color. And by the way, I found this out. I've never known this before. Just like you can have paint mixed to a certain color, you can do the same thing with stain at Home Depot or probably the other big box stores too. You just go in there, select from a color chart, and they can mix the stain for you. So I was able to get this charcoal gray color. So we've built our boxes. We built our 4 face frames to go on there. And then I got cove molding to put inside. I'm going to show you that in just a second. And I have test fit all of my boxes on the cleat that's on the wall and adjusted these pieces right here. So when I slide my cleats down, all of my boxes will be perfectly even. So the next thing we're going to do is take this off because I don't need this right now. Now the next step is to put the backs on our boxes. The material I used for the backs was really inexpensive. I went and bought a 4x8 sheet of Luan paneling or subflooring. And it's a 1/4 inch thick. And what I had them do so it would be easier for me to handle and bring home was to cut each piece at 24 inches. So I had 24, 24, 24. The last one wound up being 23.5 because the saw blade takes up a little extra space every time you cut it. But that worked out perfectly for me because this is actually 23.5. So when I got home, the pieces that were 24, I cut down a 1/2 inch off of there to make it 23.5. And then the height is 47. And of course, the 4x8 sheet, the height is 48. So I had to cut 1 inch off of each board on the top. It was pretty easy to do, just threw that on my table saw. I'm going to attach this with screws. So the first thing I'm going to do is I work my way around. I make sure I'm all squared up here in my box. Is I'm going to pre-drill everywhere that I'm going to put a screw. I always like to pre-drill a pilot hole, then I don't have to worry about those screws going through and cracking the box on the back, or the side wall of the box actually. So I'm using just a 1 inch wood screw here, a number 6 1 inch wood screw. And that'll take care of us perfectly. All right, we've put our back on here, and I've put my cleat back on here, and then I put the bottom piece on here. The only purpose that serves is to make this hang level on the wall. Use any kind of scrap you want. It's not, in my case, it's not really important where you put this, just somewhere down toward the bottom, because the side is going to get trimmed out anyway, so you'll never see that board. I put, say, 4, 8, 10 screws around the back here. You know, I could have glued it before I screwed it, but you know, you never know when you might want to take something apart, and if it's got enough structure and rigidity without the glue, just go with the screws and be done with it. I could have just glued it and tack nailed it, and that would have been fine too. So this is what it will look like. Now, on the inside, what I did was to cut some cove molding here that will go all the way around. And this will be in the back part of the unit here. So this will be either painted black, and I'm going to show you, I've tested that. This will either be painted black here and here, or it'll be black velvet. I'm not sure yet. I really think the black velvet would look better, but I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. Once we've done that, then we will attach our face frame. Now this will be the last thing that we do, is to put this face frame on here, because I have to be able to run my wires right up against the edge of my box here, right inside here. And I don't want this in the way. This overlaps to help hide those LED lights. One other thing that I've already done is, you can see, I think you can see that there's little notches right here. That's for me to be able to run my lights from unit to unit. So I've already got those notches in there. Now what we can do is go ahead and hang these up there just temporarily and see how we're looking so far. So you can see that we've got our boxes put together here. Here's the three. And I just wanted to make sure that they were fitting. You can see that they're hanging nice and level up there on top, which is what I was looking for. But just to give you an idea of what it's going to look like, here's one where I just tacked the face frame on there and just put the lights in with some masking tape right now, just for a test. This one is painted black in the background. When the velvet comes, I can complete it, but I had some extra time because I'm waiting for the velvet, so I thought, well, I'll paint it black and just to see what it looks like. That's without the lights. If I turn the lights on, you can see how it makes that guitar just sparkle, and it puts that nice shroud of light around it, which is really pretty cool. I think when I get all four of these done, it's just going to look fantastic. To put the velvet around the inside, I cut sheets of poster board to the size that I needed, and then cut enough velvet to fit around there, and then glued it on with a spray contact glue. So you follow that process, making the strips for every area that you want to cover with the velvet. Then you spray adhesive where you want to sit the velvet, and then just pat it down and it'll stick just great. Once I've had my first display case done, I could use that as a template. So I could move on down the line and put the face frames on, put the hooks in to hang the guitars, and make sure that they all hung the way I wanted to. They did, so the only thing I had left to do was to run a trim board along the bottom to hide the wires, and that was pretty darn simple. So here's the finished product. Actually almost finished. I've got one more corner piece of trim to put in here. It's all cut and ready to go. I just haven't put it in yet. But you can see that it really makes a beautiful display for these guitars. There's LED lighting all around the outside, which makes them pop a little bit more. And I'm going to dim the lights for you because it's really pretty spectacular with the lights dimmed. You can see how with the lights dimmed just a little bit, it really makes these display cases stand out. These LED lights are just perfect for an application like this. You can change the colors on these lights as well. You could go to yellow, or blue, or purple, or green. But frankly, I'm pretty partial to white. I really think that makes the display cases stand out the most. All four of the display cases that you see here cost me about $275, and that includes the LED lights. You could easily go out and buy one of these and spend $250 or $300. So to get four of them for that price is a great deal. So I hope you might try something like this. I think it worked out spectacularly. If you like this video, don't forget, hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.